Hi, this is Tanner Huber. I am one of the GTAC directors for the State Board of Accounts. In this session, we would like to give you some information to help you get started in your role as fiscal officer. This is not an exhaustive list, but it is a starting point. We hope that you will have time to review all of our training videos in your first few days in office, and we hope that by doing so, your transition will be a smooth one. The first thing you will want to do is file your official bond. We do have a separate video on that subject that we encourage you to watch. It will explain the who, what, how, and when of filing your bond, if you have not done that already. Next, you will want to gather the information for all city or town bank accounts, add your name to the accounts, and delete the name of the former fiscal officer. Be sure to obtain online access to the bank accounts as well. Then, change your email and user logins. We do have a separate video on how to do that in the Gateway system. Once you have a new email, contact communications@sboa.in.gov to get on the list to receive SBOA emails, updates to the manuals, and to receive the City and Town Bulletin. This is very important, so please do this as soon as possible so that you will not miss any information from our office. We recommend that you bookmark the Indiana code. You'll be using that a lot. You can find that at iga.in.gov, then click on the arrow next to Laws at the top, and you will see the Indiana code in the dropdown. We also recommend that you bookmark the SBOA website so that you can have the uniform compliance guidelines easily available. Finally, we recommend that you take a look at the calendar of duties in the Accounting and Uniform Compliance Guidelines Manual for Cities and Towns, which is in Chapter 7 of the manual. This is not an exhaustive list of duties, but it will give you a good starting point. Once you take office, you will immediately be responsible for the timely deposit and posting of receipts. We will do more training on this in January, but just to get you started, you will want to familiarize yourself with the process used by your city or town to collect revenue. Your city or town should already have a system in place using the proper type of receipt form. But just in case you want to look at the prescribed form, it is referenced here for you. In many of your computerized systems, your receipt form will not look exactly the same as the prescribed form, but it should contain all of the same information required on the prescribed form. Indiana Code 5-13-6-1 contains the requirements for timely deposit of funds by political subdivisions. Cities and towns are required to deposit funds by the next business day if the amount on hand exceeds $500. Receipts should be issued and recorded at the time of transaction. Once you take office, you will also immediately be responsible for getting claims ready for the next board meeting. Again, we will provide more information in January, but we do want you to have enough information to get started when you take office. The prescribed claim form is the Accounts Payable Voucher, also called the APV. This is available for you to review in Chapter 6 of the Cities and Towns Manual. Most of you should have a claims process in place with the proper forms. The primary statute which governs the claims process is Indiana Code 5-11-10-1.6, which states that a fiscal officer may not draw a warrant or check for the payment of a claim unless there is a fully itemized invoice or bill for the claim, evidence approval by the officer or person receiving the goods or services. That approval is written right on the APV. The claim is filed with the fiscal officer. The fiscal officer audits and certifies before payment that the invoice or bill is true and correct. That certification is also on the face of the APV. And payment of the claim must be allowed by the governing body. Funds must be appropriated and available, and that information should be recorded on the APV. Now, some of your cities or towns may have an ordinance allowing claims to be paid before approval of the board. Usually those would be recurring payments specifically listed in the ordinance. If you have that, you must have those claims approved at the next board meeting following payment. You cannot pay claims prior to board approval without that ordinance in place. Each accounts payable voucher should have supporting documentation such as an invoice, bill, or contract. You may need to establish a petty cash fund. As provided in Indiana Code 36-1-8-3, the fiscal body of a political subdivision may establish a petty cash fund for the purpose of paying small or emergency items of operating expense. A receipt shall be taken for each and every expenditure from such fund, and an accounts payable voucher shall be filed by the custodian of the fund to reimburse such fund for expenditures so made. No reimbursement should be made unless there is attached to the accounts payable voucher receipts totaling the amount so claimed. Such reimbursement shall be approved, allowed, and paid in the same manner as other accounts payable vouchers. The amount of the fund shall be established by the fiscal body of the political subdivision. The establishment of a cash change fund is recommended for each department of a city or town collecting licenses, fees, utility service charges, or any other cash revenues. The authority for such fund is Indiana Code 36-1-8-2. The fiscal body of the political subdivision must authorize the establishment of the cash change fund. The accounts payable voucher should be filed by the officer or employee who is charged with the duty of collecting the cash revenues for the amount deemed necessary for presentation to the proper board. The amount of the fund must be established by the fiscal body. The accounts payable voucher should contain a statement regarding the necessity for such fund, together with a statutory reference authorizing its establishment. Upon approval of the accounts payable voucher by the proper board, the clerk-treasurer would draw a warrant on the city or town general fund without appropriation if for civil use, or the operating fund of the proper utility if for utility purposes. The warrant is to be converted to cash and retained by the officer or employee in whose favor it is drawn, who shall be held individually responsible for the custody and safekeeping of such cash. The entire cash change fund is to be returned to the fund from which it was advanced if and when it is no longer needed, and must be returned at the conclusion of each term served by the person drawing same. We wanted to provide you some key contacts for common questions. The Department of Local Government Finance will be best able to answer all budget and appropriation questions. The Indiana Department of Revenue and the Internal Revenue Service will be best able to answer all tax and withholding questions. The Indiana Department of Labor will be best able to answer wage and hour questions, along with questions relating to personnel issues. The Public Access Counselor will be best able to answer questions pertaining to access to public records or the requirements for public meetings. Finally, the Indiana Public Retirement System, or IMPERS, will be best able to answer pension-related questions. Here is the contact information for the State Board of Accounts. Our GTAC directors over cities and towns are Mitch Wilson and Beth Goss. They can be reached by email at cities.towns@sboa.in.gov or by phone at 317-232-2513. To subscribe to SBOA emails, updates to the manual, and to receive the Cities and Towns Bulletin, you can do that by reaching out to communications@sboa.in.gov. sboa.gov. To reach the Gateway Help Desk, you can shoot them an email at annualreports@sboa.in.gov. And finally, for additional information, please visit our website at www.in.gov/SBOA. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to hearing from you.